Good evening, everyone. Hitesh, Panreddy, Meghna, Siddharth. What about others? Are you there? Good evening. Time of the year. When you are all preparing for the examinations, time of festivities, time of change of seasons. Just, I would just like to say that take good care of your health for those who are going to appear in the upcoming November exams. Good morning, evening. Pooja, Karthik, Himanshu, Janisha. We have Nagarjun and Siddhant Teli. I don't know whether they are in the audit sessions or they're taking some other class. Only this much students present. What about others? Where are the other people? उन्हें पार्टी नहीं चाहिए? They are just satisfied with one party. No more parties. Shreya, Smita, Annie. Okay. Okay. Till the time other people are joining, can you please come up with your doubts which got left unaddressed that day? Karthik, you still remember Siddharth's network, huh? Really good. Siddharth famous हो गया अपने network के लिए. He can be the brand ambassador again of the company the network is using. Okay, so please. Obviously, Siddharth, your network is quite strong. So please come up with your doubts. One of the people was asking me, sir, what are Fiori assets? Right? That is just a typo in the statement. It is not Fiori, that is fixed only. The word is fixed only. There is no such word Fiori relating to assets. Okay? So whosoever asked me about that, and Shreya, the limit you asked me about regarding LLPs, as of now, no limit has been set up by the government, and we are considering it under small companies only. The limit of small companies, which is exempted from the ceiling. I hope, Shreya, I'm clear. Any other doubts? Siddharth says no doubts. Any other doubts? Otherwise, I'll start at 6:05. We still have 1 more minute. If there are any doubts left from the last session. आज पहली पार्टी कर लेंगे. Okay. Okay. चलिए. So let's start with today's chapter. Today's topic. Okay. Okay. Good evening, Nilabjo. Now we are here. As usual, you have to bear with my drawing skills. So, how many of you have been to a local club, the town hall club or any other club? Not the NGO clubs, but the actual clubs, physically existing clubs. They have their infrastructure as well, amenities and all. Good evening, Shriram. So, has any of you experienced the membership or the hospitalities or being the have you ever subscribed to a club or anyone in your family, anyone in your family? Okay, okay, great. Okay, so let's move today. Visit a club with me. Okay, so that's me and that represents you. Fine. You have done the chapter of NGOs in your higher secondary as well as in your foundation or inter, wherever you have covered it. Keep that in mind whenever you were preparing the income and expenditure or receipts and payment account and the balance sheet of a club, the terms like life subscription, contributions, member subscriptions, arrears, outstanding, prepaid expenses, payables, everything, right? Keep that picture in mind while auditing a club. It will just take 10 to 15 minutes and we'll be through the audit of a club. Okay. So when we enter a club, obviously that's you. Let us give you a name, A, and I am the auditor, right? V. Okay. So first, I've taken you with me to a club. You are the member of this club. You'll be enjoying the facilities and I'm going to audit the club, right? So I've reached the reception of the club, the front desk. So my friend A, right? My friend A would be asking for his account details, getting his identity verified, everything, and I'll be just observing whatever he is doing. The first point that will strike my mind would be what entrance fee they charge. What entrance fee they charge. Every club has an entrance fee apart from subscription. If you want to enter that club, then what does it take to be a member of that club? The subscriptions, right? If you are a member, you have subscribed to the club. Now, with respect to subscription, payment of subscription, there are two scenarios. Subscription in advance and subscription in arrears. I hope you know what is payment in advance and if there are any arrears regarding this. So as an auditor, I'll audit the entrance fee, vouch the slips and all, and the member subscriptions, the advance paid arrears, if any, and the members register will help me in this. Am I right? Okay. Siddharth, that depends upon club to club. I usually allowed it. It's nothing like this. Clubs have special, discounts or offers for their members, and they are open to out external members as well, not external people as well, on the basis of payment of fee. Whatever facility you want to use in the club, you want to arrange for a get together, a party, or whatever, and you're not a member of the club, you can use the facilities of the club on the basis of the payment of a fee, rent. Clubs can commercialize themselves as well. Okay, so members register, and then I'll check the subscription areas. What else as an auditor I will check? 1, 2, 3. I'll also check the arithmetical accuracy of the totals of the fee received, which pertains to present year or advance or previous year areas, everything. Okay. Now, after doing this, when till the time my friend A was making his entry in the register of members, that is, he has come at this time, entry and exit. Meanwhile, I was thinking of these points, about these points. Now we both, A and B, V and A, went to the club restaurant, bar, whatever you can say. Okay. Now in the restaurant or bar, every clubs usually have these eating points, restaurants. So while in the restaurant, we were having food. What would I check? I would check the margins they are charging from outsiders as well as from the club members. Obviously, they will be charging lower margins or just at cost to the club members, and a commercial margin from the outsiders. Then member accounts, because when members visit the club, they usually don't pay. They have a book, or they'll ask the manager to debit their account. They have usually paid a lump sum in the start, or they keep on paying at frequent intervals, and they'll ask the manager to please debit their account for any of the services or food availed in the restaurant. So I'll also check the member accounts, whether the entries are being properly made, their accounts are being properly debited, and funds are being received from them at frequent intervals. What else I would check? Cutlery, stock of inventory of cutlery, salaries and all other stuff of other members, manpower. That's it for time being. This is a major thing I'm going to check. After having our food at the club, we went to the recreational area. There is spa, there is pool, sports, music, all the tools and equipments as well as infrastructure. This falls under fixed assets, right? This falls under fixed assets. Basis for calculation of subscription. What policies to serve the member having area subscription will this? Definitely, Karthik. This will. So these are all the fixed assets, And sometimes they also maintain an inventory of the consumables, whatever gets consumed while providing these services, recreational services to the members as well as to external parties. So inventory of such assets and about the fixed assets. Again, their purchase from the vendors, what are the usage services, are the member books or what member accounts being debited for the same, what are the internal controls relating to the maintenance of fixed assets. After spending some rejuvenating time over here, now my friend A wants me to meet the management of the club. It could be any constitution, the management of the club. So, while interacting with the management of the club, what investments have they made? In what incomes are they generating from the funds they have, and they have invested further? Government securities, private securities, whatever it is, what are the income they are getting from these investments? I'll discuss it with them and check them as an auditor. Further, I'll discuss with them about their powers. What is the constitution of the management? What powers do they enjoy? Chairman, vice chairman, board, secretary, treasurer? What is the power with everyone and all? Happily, will come back. My friend A will make an entry while exiting and we leave. So these are the points which we have covered in the audit of a club, right? Let us do this theoretically. Entrance fee. First point, if you remember, vouch the receipt, entrance fee. Vouch the receipt on account of entrance fee with members' application and counterfoils issued to them. The slips you get in return, that is known as counterfoils. You know, the slips, the receipt slips you get in return is the counterfoil on a reference to minutes of the managing committee. Members have been given an entry into the club. What entrance fee they paid while joining the club. Then after that, members register, subscriptions, right? Vouch member subscription with the counterfoils of receipt issued to them. Trace receipts for a selected period to the register of members. If they are maintaining a track, they are maintaining the receipts with them. The clubs are also maintaining the receipts with them, right? So we have to match, tally those receipts with the register of members. Also reconcile the amount of total subscriptions due with the amount collected and outstanding. So this is what I'm going to do. This is I'm going to do in the register of members. Okay. Now I'll move towards the subscription. Subscription, we talked about two instances, in arrears and in advance. Areas of subscriptions for the previous year have been correctly brought over to this year. And areas for the year under audit, subscriptions received in advance have been correctly adjusted. I hope you know the adjustments. Areas of the previous year, you all know about the adjustments you used to do in accounts. Subscriptions, while calculating subscriptions received during the year. Subscriptions beginning, subscriptions at the end, subscriptions issued during the received during the year. You made all those calculations with the accounting early accounted for. This is what we did. Advanced areas. Okay. So we covered 1, 2, 3 points. Okay. Now what was the fourth point? Arithmetical accuracy. Check totals of various columns of the register of members and telling them across. This used to be relevant when they maintain, it is still relevant when they maintain physical registers. Usually this kind of, you would say, technique they still follow where they maintain physical registers. So you can, if they are maintaining physical registers, you can go for the checking of arithmetical accuracy. Right? Now, finally, an additional point with the register of members. See the register of members before exiting the reception area. You have to check the register of members if there are many member dues which are in arrear, and the management or the club authorities have taken necessary steps for their recovery. And if there are any amounts which are irrecoverable means they cannot be recovered, bad debts of subscriptions or fees, they should be mentioned in my audit report along with the amount. Now I have moved from the reception area to the restaurant. In the restaurant, the first thing I'll check the price menu and the margins, right? So let us go. Verify the internal check as regards members being charged with the price of foodstuffs and drinks provided to them and their guests, with the fees chargeable for the special services rendered such as billiards, tennis, pool, the recreational services as well. What is the pricing policy of the club? What margins do they maintain, or they provide it at cost? How do they account for all such costs? Further, what did I say? If a member is using the club facilities, check for their debit in the accounts. Seventh point, trace debits for a selected period from subsidiary registers maintained in respect of supplies and services. So one register maintained with the restaurant, one register maintained with the recreational area manager, one with the playing area manager. So check members' account debits with the subsidiary registers. Whatever services the member has availed during a particular period, the debits made to his account tally with these subsidiary registers to confirm that the account of every member has been debited with the amounts recoverable from him. So pricing, member accounts, and then margins maintained. Vouch purchases of foodstuffs, cigars, wines to test their sale price to the customer or the member so as to confirm that normal rates of gross profit have been earned on their sales. The inventory of unsold provisions and stored at the end of the year should be verified physically and its valuation checked. As an auditor, I can check the inventory physically. It is there in the club itself. I can check it individually and can get the valuation checked. How do I check it? The inventory of the stuff in the restaurant as well as of the fixed assets, furniture, crockery, purchase from the inventory register. Purchase of sports items, furniture, crockery should be checked with the in their inventory registers, and they have been purchased after proper sanction by the management. Proper bids were received. Inventory of furniture, sports material, and other assets physically can be checked with the inventory registers or closing stock at the end of the year and their valuation. So this is what I did in the restaurant area and recreation area, right? Now I further moved to the management. I went to the management, I inspected the investments. what have you invested and where, share scripts and bonds, whether they have been disclosed at their current value in their financial statements, and whether they have been kept in their safe custody. Finally, I'll ask the management about their financial powers of the secretary, like can he operate the bank account on his own or with the help of treasurer? Up to what amount can he sanction the expense on his own, and above what limit does the approval of the management require? And if any of the powers has been exceeded, such case should be reported for confirmation by the management committee in the audit report, as well as it should be confirmed with the management committee. Right? So this is what the points we have covered. Okay? Any doubts? They will do so, Karthik. Karthik, actually the auditor has come to a conclusion, studying various, observing various factors, that you have not showed this amount as irrecoverable. You should show this amount as irrecoverable, and I'll mention the irrecoverable amounts in my audit report, whether they have been disclosed by the club or I have made them to disclose it. Whatever it be, both cases. Right? Okay. So if any more doubts, otherwise we'll proceed to our next topic. Fine. Let's move to your next topic. Okay. So this was a club. Now the club was formed for recreational purposes to enjoy the facilities, right? Further, no, Hiral, completely fine. Whenever you have been asked to write the audit program of any of these entities, please be specific. Don't always go for the general points. General points are the last resort. Or you can write the general points in starting 1 or 2 points. That's it. In the first point itself, the general points, the constitution and everything. You have to be very much, or as just the introduction. But while writing the points for specific entities, you have to be very particular. If there are some points which you can write in any entity, all the entities, how are they going to award you marks specifically for the club or the hotel? Okay, please keep this in mind. So, okay, let us give them name. So there was I. Fine. Let us take other people as well. Let us take Karthik. I hope Karthik won't mind. Siddharth, we'll call him Sid, right? Okay, and let's take Hiral along with Bunreddy, right? Okay, so we have Karthik, Sid, Hiral, Bunreddy. We have 5 people. Okay, we are a group of 5 friends. So we were members of this club, the Picasso Club. And now enjoying our life, being members of this club, partying hard and everything. Now we 5 have decided to do something for the society. अच्छा, Himanshu says मैं भी चलूंगा. Okay, Himanshu, Prabhas, अगले टॉपिक में तुम्हें रोल दूंगा, right? Everyone will get a different role to play. अभी जो मेरे को सामने दिख रहे थे, those who were on screen, सो मैंने उनको उठा लिया. अब अगले टॉपिक में तुम्हें साथ लेके चलूंगा. ठीक है, इनको हम उसी स्टेशन पे छोड़ देंगे. Service charges, Karthik, are optional. Completely fine, depends upon the customer. इतना hue and cry है इसके ऊपर तो. So this is completely optional. Okay. So we are 5 people, right? And अगली टॉपिक में भी 5 लोग चलेंगे, वो डिफरेंट होंगे मेरे को छोड़ के. आई एम द वन हु इज कॉमन. So after enjoying our life in the club, we have thought of some social service. But we think that what should we do? Government is doing its part and we want to do our part. So we form an NGO, non-government or non-profit organization, right? Okay, fine. So let us give it a name, right? The whatever it be, everyone's name's first letter. This NGO, VKSBH NGO, for the service to the society. Now our NGO is growing day by day. Within 1 or 2 years, it has grown a lot. The work has increased so much, and we 5 want to get the accounts audited because we have delegated duties to further management people and people we have employed in the NGO, and we want to get the accounts of the NGO audited. Now, in that case, when we hire the services of an auditor, what would be the work of an auditor and what actually this NGO constitution is? Now we'll move to NGO. So here we are, NGOs. The NGO of 5 people. Here we go. NGOs can be defined as non-profit making organizations which raise funds from members. So we as members, I, Karthik, Siddharth, Hiral, Banreddy, right? We 5 will be raising funds. We are the members, we are the founding members. We'll be raising funds, we'll be joining, making other people also join our NGO. So we'll raise funds from members. You might have heard about the Lions Club, the Rotary Club, right? These are the international organizations, kind of NGOs. So raise funds from members. They also accept donations or contributions apart from receiving donation of time, energy, and skills. So I'm very good with accounts. I tell all of my friends that I'll be devoting my time to accounts. Karthik says I'm very good with my artistic skills, like the poetic skills Karthik showed in the last class. So I'll be arranging for the art and craft seminars and fundraising seminars. Siddharth says like I'm very good with the management of time and all. You can ask me anytime. I'm available 24/7. So that is like he's contributing his energy. Hiral, Banreddy, they say that they'll bring more donations and contributions for the working towards the society. So everybody is contributing their bit. Now, why do we contribute, raise funds, money for achieving the social objectives? We have social objectives in mind, like imparting education. It could be seminars, it could be proper education as well. To the poor, providing medical facilities, economic assistance, managing disasters like in case of floods, tsunamis, earthquakes, and emergent situations. Situations of emergency which require immediate attendance. Now, what is covered in NGO? Religious organizations, voluntary health and welfare agencies, charitable organizations, hospitals, old age homes, research foundations in the case of science. What constitutions do NGO follow? So they are generally or incorporated as societies under the Societies Act, or it is a trust under the Indian Trust Act. However, no act warrants a mandatory registration under them for an NGO. So an NGO can go without registration as well, just forming a local group and terming itself as an NGO. But if it is created as a trust, you create it as a trust. Trust carry important provision under the Act, and the trust relates to immovable property worth more than rupees 100. So, see, this dates back to Registration Act of 1908, 1882, 1882, 1860. The value of 100 rupees was much at that time, much more at that time. The value of 100 rupees. So it hasn't been amended since. That is why it still stays at rupees 100. So they have to follow these acts, the provisions of these acts. If NGOs register themselves as trust, then they'll have to follow mandatorily these acts. And the registration becomes mandatory. In some states, such as Maharashtra and Gujarat, where Public Trust Act have been passed, such as Bombay Public Trust Act of 1950, all charitable trusts have to be registered under these specific acts. That was the legal part. Registration under the Income Tax Act and the FCRA would also be invoked in many cases where you are receiving donations from foreign lands or contributing over there, and you are generating surplus from the donations you are receiving and expenditure you are making or payments you are making. So under the Income Tax Act, there is this specific provision that if you expend 85% of your receipts during the year, at least 85%, then you are exempt from paying tax on the income you generated. That you'll study under income tax. That was just a glimpse. NGOs can also be incorporated as company under Section 8. I hope you all know that. They must maintain their books of account on accrual basis as required by the provisions of Section 128. If accounts are not maintained on accrual basis, it would amount to non-compliance of the provision of Companies Act. However, the NGOs which are not registered on the Companies Act, they are allowed to maintain their books either on accrual or cash basis. Whether accrual or cash basis, but if you are a registered company and Section 8 company under the Companies Act, it is mandatory of you to maintain your books on accrual basis. Otherwise, you can maintain it on accrual as well as or cash basis, whatever you require. Now, coming to their operation part, NGOs. Shreya, we have the topic of a charitable organization. Charitable organizations have their purpose of charity, whereas non-governmental organizations have a much broader scope. We can or we can establish a frame, or you can say make an NGO. So we can set up an NGO for raising financial awareness among the general public, relating to funds management, relating to taxes. So that is not charity, that is social welfare, or we are just generating awareness. Okay, charitable institutions purposely work, they have their sole object is charity. Apart from other objects as well, sole object is charity. Karthik, when the underlying property in a trust is where a trust has an immovable property, right? It relates to an immovable property. It says that it has a fixed asset or something immovable is associated with the trust. That is what trust relates to immovable property. Private trust, like we used to see in the watching the pictures, Purani. Oh, the father used to die and there was a stepmother and all that, or the mother used to die, the stepfather, step parents, like, and they'll wait till the child attains majority, so they'll get the paper signed, they'll make him or her work as sweeper. You might have watched Sita or Gita, Chalbaz, or something like this, Ram or Sham. Quite old movies. I used to watch them in my bachpan a lot. So Kishan Kanai, there are many movies. That is what private trusts are, and the statement is talking about that only. I hope Hiral and Shreya's point is clear. NGO and charitable organization. Nothing, Karthik, not much a difference. Usually, non-governmental organizations and NPOs are usually, in common parlance, in layman's language, they are used interchangeably. Karthik, charity could be for anything, for monetary as well as non-monetary. You can donate clothes, food. Charity is for the relief of the poor, the downtrodden, right? Shriram, because we generally follow the accounting standards, maintain the accrual basis. That is why. Accrual basis is followed all across the country. That is why. Yes, Cyril, yes. Usually charitable institutions usually get themselves registered as trusts. You'll see in the topic of charitable institutions as well. Smita, not foreign contributions are invoked. Actually, registration under this act is invoked. FCRA, FERA, that because you might have heard that just recently the limit has been increased from receiving funds from outside India. You know, the funds which you are receiving from outside India, that could be the black money funds used in terrorist activities, money laundering or something like that. So that is why government wants to keep a check that NGOs are not formed just for the purpose of getting money from outside the country for mischievous activities. That is why FCRA, RBI, FERA, these acts provisions require the registration of NGOs in this case, such case. I hope, Smita, I'm clear. Now, what are the sources of funds of NGOs? Grants and donations. Grants received from grants received from local bodies or governments, donations received from all kind of people, fundraising programs, advertisements, fee from members, technical assistance fee for services rendered. The NGOs might be renting some services, subscriptions to the NGO membership, gifts, if they are engaged in some commercial activity, everything. Now, what is corpus contribution? Donations and grants received in the nature of promoters' contribution are in the nature of capital receipts and shown as liabilities in the balance sheet of NGO. So like the capital in the case of a company or a partnership or a proprietorship, in the same way, donation and grants received in the nature of promoters' contribution. Who were the promoters? Proud promoters? Vipul, Karthik, Siddharth, who else? Banreddy and Hiral. Right? We were the promoters. So we gave the donation and grants and that became corpus. These may either be in the form of a corpus contribution or a contribution towards revolving fund. Will Get to know about what is a revolving fund in the next slide. A contribution made towards the capital or corpus of an NGO is known as corpus contribution. We built a base. We 5 people built a base for the capital. A heavy base for the NGO. That this is the corpus of the organization. Whatever receipts we will be getting during the year, we'll be making expenses out of that, and whatever surplus will be that will be left with us, we'll be making it a part of the corpus. Like profit is added to the capital. The donors are generally required to specify whether the donation or grant given by him shall form part of the corpus of the NGO or not. So suppose Prabhas wants to give donation to our Wiki SHB NGO. So Prabhas says, okay, I'm giving you a donation. Don't use it in your day-to-day affairs. Right? I'm giving you a donation of 2 lakhs. Make it a part of your corpus. I'm going to be a member of your NGO. Please make it a part of your corpus, the permanent capital. With the direction, Prabhas gives this, and then I'll make it a part of the corpus. Right? Such contributions are generally given with reference to the total funds required by an NGO. Prabhas says, okay, fine. I'm giving you 10 lakh rupees. Just keep it with you separately for constructing a building, a hall for the NGO, an office for the NGO. So I'll maintain a proper fund, a different fund as a building fund. And I'll credit all the receipts received from Prabhas to that fund. So whenever we construct building, that fund would be utilized. Hitesh, that depends upon now the friends, that depends upon the directions. If the funds have been given with a general direction that please utilize it with your NGO's work, then we can utilize it in our day-to-day work as well. This will form a part of the receipts during the year. When a donation or a fund becomes a part of the corpus, it is always given with a specific direction. Right, Hitesh? Okay. Voluntary contribution, the govt done or the anonymous donations, right? Or sometimes people contribute voluntarily to various NGOs and all. So section 11 subsection 1 clause D of the Income Tax Act states that income in the form of voluntary contributions made with a specific direction that they shall form a part of the corpus of the trust or institution shall not be included in the computation of total income. So how is total income calculated under income tax? The receipt side, the payment side, receipts minus payment, surplus or deficiency, profit or loss in case of commercial organizations, and non-profit organizations or NGOs, surplus or deficiency. If the receipts are more than the expenses during the year on various projects, surplus. If the expenses are more than the receipts, there is deficiency. So the Income Tax Act says that if Prabhas has given you 10 lakh rupees and you have made it a part of the corpus or a separate fund, you have not utilized it during the year, it will not form a part of receipts for computing the total income of the NGO. Okay? Nothing like that, Karthik. Nothing like that. Whosoever is contributing to the corpus becomes a member. That is a different process. I might not be a member. I might be a member. I want to become a member. But I can definitely give a direction that my funds be made a part of the corpus. That depends upon the policies of the NGO. Corpus contribution means funds you have given to the NGO, you have donated to the NGO, and you want it to become a part of the corpus, the capital of the NGO. I hope Smita, Karthik, I'm clear. Now revolving fund, merry-go-round. the objective of a contribution or grant towards a revolving fund, the NGOs who maintain revolving fund, what is that? Just as an example, I gave 20,000 to Karthik. Karthik is an NGO, and Karthik further gives this money on interest basis to Siddharth, 15,000. Siddharth further gives this money to Hiral, 10,000, and further Hiral lends out of this money to Banreddy, 5,000. Right? Okay, let us leave this. You'll confuse it with the promoters and all. Okay, let us have another NGO. Hitesh, Prabhas, right? Hitesh, Prabhas, and Smita. They have an NGO. So if we are maintaining a revolving fund, what would we do? We'll donate, we'll give them some money on temporary basis on interest. Let us assume we gave them 50,000. And the NGO of Prabhas, Hitesh, and Smita, they are further giving it to another NGO, ABC NGO, on interest basis, 15,000 or 20,000 out of that 50,000. On temporary basis, that after 15 to 20 days or 1 month, I'll ask Prabhas to return my money, because I'll also be requiring that money. It was surplus with me at that time, but I have a project. My NGO has a project due next month, and I'll ask Prabhas, before the date of that project, you have to return me my money with interest. This is what revolving fund is. When you have extra money in the form of grants or donations received, you make a revolving fund. What is this revolving fund? That you have maintained this fund specially for revolvement. You give money, you get it in return with interest. Again, you give money to another NGO, get it in return with interest. Like this, you are maintaining the fund. So the objective of a contribution or grant towards a revolving fund is to rotate the amount by giving temporary loans from the fund to another NGOs or beneficiaries for their projects, and then recover the loans so as to give temporary loans again, and so on. So Prabhas NGO was short of funds for a particular project. For example, a cultural project, a dance event to raise funds for the farmers or for the poverty-ridden people. They were short of funds. They'll ask me or Karthik, their friend, that do you have extra money to lend us? We'll say, okay, fine. 20 days, 1 month, we'll give you the money. Interest 4%, 5, 6, whatever you like. And when you get that money from Prabhas, Prabhas says, we'll be receiving a donation next month from this particular person. So whenever we receive the money, we'll give it to you. The loan. We'll pay you back. Okay. So that is what NGOs usually do if they maintain a revolving fund specifically for this purpose. However, any interest earned from the beneficiary on such temporary loans from the revolving fund could be either added back to the fund or credited to the income and expenditure account, depending on the restrictions laid down by the authority providing the contribution. For example, now Shriram has given me fund of 10 lakh rupees, our NGO. Shriram says, keep this fund as corpus or a separate fund to help other NGOs. I'm very much impressed with your work and I want to donate you money. I don't want to donate to all the NGOs. I'll be giving 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 3 lakhs. I'm giving it to you with the condition that you maintain a revolving fund and you help other NGOs when they require money. I say, okay, thank you, Shriram. You've given us 5 lakh rupees or 10 lakh, whatever. Now I give that money. Out of that money, I've given 2 lakhs to Prabhas NGO. Prabhas gives me that money, 2,02,000 after 1 month. So that 2 lakh rupees, I'll credit it back to the revolving fund I've maintained with me on the credit side of balance sheet. The 2,000 rupees are my income. Either I'll credit it to the fund or I can treat it as my income in the income and expenditure account. What could be the case? The case could be like this. So here we go. Okay. So that's my balance sheet. That's my profit and loss. So when Prabhas gives me your money back, this is my asset side. My bank gets increased by 2,02,000. Okay. Now here on the liability side is my revolving fund. Fine. Either I'll credit it by 2,02,000. I've got money back in my revolving fund. 2 lakh, which was given as loan, and 2,000 is the interest. One option is this. The other option is, see, asset and liability side matched. Now the other option is, they'll say, if Shriram has told me, okay, you can treat this 2,000, you can use this 2,000 in your day-to-day affairs. The interest part you can use in your day-to-day affairs, but the principal part, 2 lakh, you'll have always to use it as revolving fund to help other NGOs. So in that case, what I can do is on the income side, what will I do? I'll credit 2,000 as my income. I've received 2,02,000 in my bank account. 2 lakh, I'll put it in the revolving fund as per Shriram's instruction. There is a difference of 2,000 now. So how is this 2,000 treated? I'll treat it as my income in the profit and loss account. My surplus in the profit and loss account would increase by 2,000 then, my profit, or you can say surplus. This surplus forms a part of the corpus in my balance sheet, like profit forms a part of the capital. My corpus always increased by the surplus or gets decreased by the deficiency every year. So my corpus will get increased by 2,000 because the surplus was increased by 2,000. See, 2 lakh over here, 2,000 over here, my balance sheet is matched. So as per the instructions given by Shriram, who has given me the donation for the revolving fund, he tells me that, okay, you can use the revolving fund's interest, whatever interest you earn on the revolving fund, you can use it for the income. So I will use it for the income. And my corpus was increased by 2,000. The revolving fund will remain 2 lakh and 2,02,000 over here. Balance sheet matched. But if Shriram says no, whatever money you receive on the revolving fund as interest, you have to credit it back to that revolving fund only, 2,02,000, so that it keeps on increasing and more NGOs can get money from you. Don't use 2 lakh as your income during the year. So I'll not form it a part of the corpus and 2,02,000 over here revolving fund, 2,02,000 over here in the bank. I hope I'm clear. Corpus fund is like the capital of the NGO. Hiral. Nilabjo, now your question has come only. Sir, are my queries coming? Yes, revolving funds somewhere means this only. Yes, Nilabjo. Completely yes. Either directly add to the corpus fund or credit it in our P&L account. Donations for specific purpose. Donations and grants received for acquisition of specific fixed assets are those grants whose primary condition is that an NGO accepting them should purchase, construct, or acquire the assets for which the grant is given. Okay. For example, Nilabjo. Nilabjo has donated 2 lakh rupees to my NGO to be spent on computers to be donated to various schools. That is a specific purpose. Prabhas gave me, or someone else who was there, gave me money to set up an office for the NGO or to construct a building for a school through my NGO. So I'll maintain a proper fund. either to acquire or somebody has given me money to purchase an ambulance in the name of the NGO, so that whenever emergent or emergency urgent medical facilities are required, that ambulance is available in the city. You might have seen many NGOs rendering ambulance services in your area. So if I've received money, my NGO has received money to acquire a van or an ambulance, I have to keep it for using that particular purpose only, specific purpose. Contributions in kind. So I could also receive contributions in kind, like somebody has donated clothes, somebody has donated computers, somebody has donated office equipment, car for the like NGO, or somebody has given their room in a building or an office for NGO's purpose. This is something which is contribution in kind. So where do the funds, like the funds they get, donations or grants, where do they use this? Establishment costs means day-to-day running of the NGO, office and administration expenses, maintenance expenses, towards program and project expenses, like organizing events, seminars, charity donations and contributions given further to other organizations or poor people. So these are some examples: CRY, UNICEF, Concern India Foundation, Vidya, the advertisement you watch on your, you see on your television, right? These are some examples. So in the case of an NGO, the auditors of an NGO registered under Societies Registration Act or the Trust Act are normally appointed by the management of the society or trust, right? The auditors of NGO registered under Section 8 of the Companies Act are appointed by the members of the company. Quite normal. Some of the statutes, such as, there is a problem. It is not statutes. I'll rectify it. Some of the statutes, such as Companies Act, FCRA Act, Income Tax Act, require the accounts of the NGO to be audited and submitted to the prescribed authorities, and failure to do so could lead to forfeiture of certain exemptions and benefits. For example, I gave you the example of Income Tax Act, where the Income Tax Act says if you have spent 85% of the receipts you have got during the year on the objects of the NGO, right? So it is completely fine. But how do we get assurance that you have actually expended it? Get it audited by a chartered accountant and submit your audit report. Only then we'll give you the exemption from tax. Different statutes have specified different audit reports. For example, the FCRA has prescribed the format and requires the audit report to be furnished to the Ministry of Home Affairs within 60 days of the close of the financial year. That is by May 30, not May 31, 60 days, May 30. This is just an example. So audit planning by the auditor. Now you must be well versed with how does the auditor need to plan. He needs to be well versed with the knowledge of the NGO's work, its mission, vision, areas of operation, and the environment within which it operates. The statutes applicable to it, right? The auditor should have knowledge of that law, particular law. Reviewing the legal form of the organization, whether it is a Section 8 company, it is a trust, it is just an association of purpose, persons, club, whatever it is. MOA, AOA, rules and regulations. Reviewing the NGO's organization chart, what is actually the structure? Who is the Pradhan? Who is the president? Who is the secretary? Who is the treasurer? Who has got what powers? Right? What have the policies they framed? Project and program guidelines. Examination of some of their minutes of their meetings to ascertain what are the decisions that have been made and how have the decisions impact them financially. studying their accounting system, procedures, internal controls, setting their mandatory level for audit purposes, the nature, timing, and extent of our work, our communication with the NGO, and our report. If we need an expert during our audit work, for example, getting some valuation done of the building constructed by the NGO, reviewing the previous year's audit report to get a glimpse of what is the actual scenario working of the NGO. So how do you audit the various parts of the balance sheet? Chapter 9. So liability side. What do you find in the liability side of the balance sheet of an NGO? Corpus fund. This is the Atma, the ground, the foundation of the NGO. The contribution grants received toward corpus to be vouched with special reference to the letters from the donors. I'll check letter from Shriram in writing. I'll check in document from Prabhas in writing, or whosoever gave me funds that they should form a part of the corpus with the direction. The interest income on investment be checked with investment register and physical investments. On the liability side, we could have reserves as well. So surplus might not be transferred to the corpus. It might be transferred to the reserves, like in the case of Section 8 company. So whatever transfers you have made from the donations received for various projects, programs, the board resolutions made during the year. Also check transfer of gross value of assets sold from capital reserve to general reserve. And these are all adjustments you might have done in your accounts. And fixed asset is sold, capital reserve is created. When was the capital reserve created? For example, on revaluation, when the asset is sold, amount from reserve is transferred to the general reserve. These are all normal examples. Earmarked funds. What are earmarked funds? Funds specifically kept for a specific purpose. Check requirement of donors, institutions, board resolution of NGO, rules and regulation to check earmarked funds. Earmarked funds means funds, for example, I've kept 10 lakh rupees separately for construction of a building, construction of a lab for a school, or I've kept 2 lakh rupees specifically for organizing Dandiya, fundraising Dandiya event. That is an earmarked fund. Project and agency balances. So a fund has been kept for a particular project. If disbursements are being made, expenditures are being made from that fund as per agreement between the management or with the donors, we should check such balances. For example, Shriram gave me money for revolving fund. I would check revolving funds balance and whom it is being lent, what is the treatment of income of interest, is it as per Shriram's instructions? And if I have taken any loans, vouch loan with loan agreements or counterfoils of receipt issued. Asset side, fixed assets, quite normal. Check all acquisition, sale or disposal of assets, check depreciation. There are proper authorizations for the same. If somebody has donated any fixed asset to be used for a specific purpose, check their letter or range agreements. In case of immovable property, check title to the property. Who is holding the title of ownership? Investment register to be checked in case of investment, physically to be checked. They are in safe custody. And verify further investment and disinvestments. Investments means you have purchased, disinvestment means you have sold. They have been approved by the appropriate authority. And you can also check investments, all are in through bank accounts, cash in hand, physically verify if there are any impressed balances. I hope you know what is an impressed balance for day-to-day expenses apart from cash in hand, and whether it tallies with the books of account, bank balances with bank statements or BRS, inventory. If we are dealing in any inventory or we have any inventory in hand to be used for a certain project, we should obtain a certificate from the management, the quantity and valuation, and we can also check them physically. That was with respect to balance sheet. Now with respect to profit and loss. Oh, sorry, not profit and loss. Receipt and payment or income and expenditure. NGOs don't work for profit. Yes, definitely he will. Confirmations. Yes, impressed is petty cash. Okay, income and expenditure item, contribution and grants for projects and programs. Check agreement with donors. So for example, who's here? Meghna. So Meghna has donated 50,000 rupees to be used for the Dandiya program to be organized during Navratri by the NGO, our NGO. Okay. So somebody out of Karthik, Siddharth, Bandreddy, whosoever. So they told Meghna about we are organizing Dandiya program. We'll be selling tickets. We'll be arranging for stalls over there, and whatever money we'll be getting, our NGO would be organizing that, and we are looking for sponsors, donors. So whatever money surplus we'll be getting from that particular event, we'll be using it for the poor people or down to the or people who have been affected by floods. So Meghna says, okay, Karthik, I'll also contribute to your project, but with one condition, that my money would be used only for Dandiya event, not for your any other project. So we'll check it for that, Meghna's agreement, or any grants received from local bodies. For example, Siddharth approached the local municipal bodies as well that please provide us with some donation to arrange this event, organize this event. They have given the grant on one condition, that you'll utilize it only for this purpose. So funds have been properly accounted for that purpose only. If you have received any foreign contribution, so they are deposited, they have been deposited, you have received them in a foreign contribution bank account as notified under FCR. Receipts from fundraising programs. So the fundraising program was a Dandiya event. You sold tickets, stalls, receipts from the stalls put up over there. So verify in detail the internal control system and certain who are the persons responsible for collection of funds. So Karthik and Siddharth, they were in charge of arranging for donations, funds, grants, and now Hiral, Bandreddy, and I myself, Vipul, they are in charge of the the program during the program, the operations or procedure during that program. Who's collecting the ticket? For example, at the entry, I have made 2 people sit, and I am in charge of giving entry to that particular Dandiya event by selling tickets, by checking the passes. Hiral and Bandreddy are inside the premises. They are checking how are the stalls doing, how is the money being generated from the stalls, is there a proper internal control. So from the fundraising programs, ensuring that corrections are counted and deposited in the bank daily. For example, it is a 9-day affair or a 10-day affair. So the money which is collected during the day, it is deposited in the bank same day or in the opening hours of the next day. As an auditor, I'll check this. Membership fees of the NGO. Now, Shriram and Prabhas, affected by the work of our NGO, they are too impressed. They want to be a part of our NGO. So we'll check with the membership register. There could be a joining fee and then an annual fee. So proper classification is made between the entrance, like you are joining the NGO, and annual fee and life membership fee. What is life membership fee? I'll pay for once. For example, annual fee is 10,000, entrance fee is 20,000, and if anybody wants to become a life member, he or she can pay 2 lakhs at once and forget everything. He or she will be a life member. So you might have done it in your chapter of NPO in accounts that out of the 2 lakhs rupees, every year for 20 years, 10,000 rupees would be debited towards that year's fee. Reconcile fees received with fees to be received during the year. Subscription register to be checked, receipts issued. Reconcile subscription received with printing and dispatch of corresponding different magazines or periodicals of the NGO. Interest and dividends, quite normal. Expenses. So program and project expenses, we'll have to check if somebody has given a donation or contribute to a particular program to be spent on that program, like Meghna did for Dandiya event. So we should check the money has been utilized, her donated money has been utilized only for that particular purpose. Okay. And wheresoever, which particular expense, for example, we hired an advertisement contractor and we asked them in the whole city, somebody here from Ahmedabad, okay, let us see Ahmedabad. I give them a contract for the Dandiya event. In the whole city of Ahmedabad, there should be hoardings of our NGO for this Dandiya event so that we can get as many contributions, as many people who could come to our event. And we could generate a lot of funds to help the people affected by floods. So if I make them the payment of advertisement under a contract, proper TDS has been deducted, return filed with the government and returns filed, I'll have to check the TDS provisions. And further, if I have staff with me, many people working under my NGO, so about their provident fund, salaries, premiums, insurance premiums, everything which is related to my NGO's working expenses, right? Stationery, postage, traveling, these are the general expenses of the NGO. No funds, only general funds received, general donations received during the year or general incomes received during the year can be utilized for these general expenses. If a particular fund, Meghna's fund, which she has given to be used in Dandiya event, cannot be used for given permanent salaries or for stationary purpose outside of that Dandiya event. This is a duty of the auditor to check for that. Am I clear? So that was with respect to an NGO. So doubts, if any, come on. Yes, any doubts, please? You can come up with that. Okay, Meghna, rest assured, VKSBH is appreciated for its commitments. Okay, great. Any doubts with respect to NGOs? So otherwise, I'll move ahead. Okay, Hiral. So suppose Hiral, you are a club's member. Okay, fine. So Hiral, assume you were not a member of the club and Vipul, Karthik, Siddharth and Banreddy. It was an all boys club. We were the members, and to get some gender neutrality, Hiral says she wants to join the club, right? So we asked Hiral, okay, we are the founding members, right? We have made some goodwill in the society, and if you join our club, right, or our NGO, okay, so our NGO has earned some name. So to join our NGO, to work for the society, to work with our NGO, you'll have to pay 20,000 as joining fee or the entrance fee. Fine. You'll pay 20,000 for the first year, while I, Karthik, Siddharth and Banreddy, who are already the members, will paying the annual fee, which we have decided initially that 10,000 would be the annual fee. We all would be contributing every year to the NGO. But you are a new member, you are joining us after the formation of the NGO, you're not a founder member. So you'll have to give 20,000 in the first year. And from next year onwards, whatever be the annual fee decided, 10, 15, whatever it be, you'll have to pay that. For the first year, you'll have to pay the entrance fee. That would be apportioned between the entrance fee and the annual fee as per the rules of the NGO, policies of the NGO. Nilabjo, we can ask Nilabjo. That is completely fine. Nilabjo, if you are the auditor, you can always approach Meghna. Meghna, I've received this letter from the NGO, which you have given them along with the funds, that your funds be utilized only for Dandiya event. Have you given 2 lakh rupees? Because as far as I can see, it is only 1,50,000 in your name. How much money have you given, Meghna? Nilabjo, you can anyways ask for external confirmations. Okay, Banreddy, I hope your doubt is clear now. Hiral says reconcile fees. Reconcile fees means like the bank reconciliation statement. That is simple. Hiral, what is reconcile fees? I'm not able to understand. Okay, you want a break or should I take up a next smaller topic? What do you guys want? A break or I take up another topic, a small topic? Then I have a big topic today that will consume time and a smaller topic left. So whatever you would say, I'll take up that. बोलो भाई. Okay, it will take 10 minutes. I'll Smita, that is internal matter of the NGO. There is nothing in law with respect to that. That is the internal matter of the NGO. As an auditor, I'll ask them about the policy. But ready only you are asking for break. Otherwise, everybody wants to do the smaller topic. Get your tea and coffee along with. We are doing local bodies. Another 10 minutes, then we'll take the break. And only the bigger topic that is left for today, government audit, will take that up after the break. Okay? So just 10 minutes and local bodies. Okay? Chaliye. It is every time with Bandready. He wants a break at 7:15 and everybody wants to say, okay, sir, let's move ahead. And when I give break, he's there in the chat query session asking questions. Otherwise, he'll be having coffee or tea along with the topic. Local bodies. So what are local bodies? A municipality can be defined as a unit of a local self-government in an urban area. So in the break, we'll have to find out the city you live in. The city you live in, what kind of local body does it have? Okay? So you have to tell me that. By the term local self-government is orally understood the administration of a locality. It could be a village, a town, a city, or any other area smaller than a state, by a body representing the local inhabitants possessing fairly large autonomy. Autonomy means independence, raising at least a part of its revenue through local taxation. You like the local property taxes, the local water and sewerage tax, and spending its income on services which are regarded as local and therefore distinct from state and center services. Now, I've taken up the topic of government. So, initially we were 5 people in Friends as Club. Then we formed an NGO. Now we are approaching local bodies to help us. After that, we'll be fighting elections and then we'll occupy seats in the state government and the central government. Okay? So Karthik, Siddharth, Hiral and others, be ready. You'll be given ministries in the state government and central government. We are going to rise. We have started from enjoying as a group of friends through a club. Then we formed an NGO. Now we are socially so popular. We have become a part of the local body. We have entered the local government. From here, we are going to progress to the state level and then to the central level. So I'm taking you step by step. We met at the club, entertainment, party and all, became friends. Then like-minded people formed an NGO. Then they became a part of the local government, fought elections through NGO. They served the society. The people who were around them, they believed that they could do good when they get into the government. So they fought for the local elections. They contested the local elections. And now somebody or Karthik or Siddharth is the mayor, deputy mayor, a municipal councillor, right? Now, after achieving a feat as a local body councillor, now they are contesting the MLA elections, state, and further they could also contest the MP elections and the central and state government. This is a story I have built up for today's session. So now we have done the club level, we have done through the NGO level. Now we have contested the local elections, we have won, and we are in the local body. Now you have to find out what local body do you belong to. So municipal government in India covers 5 distinct types of urban local authorities: the municipal corporations, the municipal councils, the notified area committees, the town area committees, and the cantonment committees. The cantonment is related to military, right? The taxation powers of the corporations are confined to a few items. Like I told you, water and sewerage cess, the local property taxes are some of the examples, and are of generally compulsive nature. Compulsive nature means the citizens, the inhabitants of their area, they have to abide by those charges, those taxes. They cannot say no. On the other hand, the tax powers of other urban local authorities cover a wider range. So this is for the corporations. Optional in nature, for example, in the village or other local areas, some of the services or charges are optional and subject to a procedure for their imposition requiring the final sanction of the state government. With some local bodies, some of the charges and taxes are compulsive in nature, while some of the local bodies have to get the sanction of the state government to impose those taxes or charges on the local inhabitants. Differs from one local body to other. Property taxes, octroi, are the major sources of revenue of the municipal authorities. Other municipal taxes are like professional tax, non-mechanized vehicles tax, taxes on advertisement, taxes on animals and boats, tolls, show tax, etc. Different names as per different areas. Municipal authorities are endowed with specific local functions covering regulatory, maintenance, development of schools, local health bodies, maintenance of roads, street lights, nature parks, regulatory like legal compliances or your administrative compliances. We'll discuss them. Expenditure incurred by the municipalities and corporations can be broadly classified as general administration and revenue collection, public health, public safety, education, public works like road, sewerage system, others such as interest payments, etc. Usually the local works body, because we have become a part of the local bodies now, we need to understand what local bodies are. What are their functions? What is their source of revenue and expenditure? So local bodies also receive grants. They receive grants from various bodies, NGOs, institutes, or majorly from the state government. So, the center is the principal. Okay. The state is the class teacher and the local body is the monitor. So, types of grants received by local bodies: general purpose grants. General purpose grants, very simple. If they have some expenses to make, they need these grants for their day-to-day working, substantially to bridge the gap between the needs and resources of the local bodies. Their needs, where they need to expend, their resources, what they are getting as revenue. If there is deficit, they'll seek the help of the state government for that, to grant them some money to be used for the local people. Specific purpose grants, grants which are tied with the provision of certain services or performance of certain tasks. Like the state center gave the COVID grants to the states, and the states further distributed this COVID grant to the local bodies. Specific grant to be specially utilized for protection, prevention, and cure against COVID affected areas. Against COVID in the affected areas. Okay. Statutory and compensatory grants. These grants are given to the local bodies as a compliance of various acts and on the account of loss of any revenue, or if a tax has been taken by the state government. For example, state government says from today onwards, the property taxes would be collected by the state government and they would form a part of the funds of the state government. No local body would collect it. So local bodies are at loss. They'll ask for a compensatory grant. For example, the GST Compensation Act. Some of the taxes which got subsumed with GST were taken over by the center. For example, the VAT. It was 100% of the VAT would go into the kitty of the state governments. But now, since VAT is gone, the tax has got divided into CGST and SGST. The states only get the half part, SGST. And the CGST portion is going to the central government. The states, there was a huge UN cry. The center said, for 5 years from GST implementation, we are coming up with an act to be passed in the parliament, which was duly passed. We will compensate you for this loss of yours. And the states are getting money under that act from the center for the past 5 years. Now, financial administration of the local bodies, budgetary procedure, expenditure control, accounting system. Budgetary procedure is what? They receive funds, they have some activities planned for the local area, and they form budgets. The main objective is to ensure that funds are raised and monies are spent by the executive departments in accordance with the rules and regulation and within the limits of sanction and authorization by the legislature or council, the body of the local bodies, the governing body of the local bodies, the council, and the act under which it works is the legislature, the law. Budget preparation is usually the occasion for determining the levels of taxation and rates and the ceilings on expenditure. So what rate, or do you need to increase the rate? Do you need to impose any extra tax so that your revenue increases? And for any other expenditure you want to put a ceiling on, or so for example, for you want to maintain categories like for the beautification of the city or for public works, etc. You have set up limits that these are the budgets for this particular work area. For the beautification of a city, we'll be spending 50 lakhs rupees. For the public works, the water and sewage systems, road development, we'll be spending 2 crores. So we have set up budgets for that. Municipal budget formats and heads of accounts vary from state to state, and corporation and municipalities, they vary from state to state, the formats. There is no strict separation between revenue and capital items. Usually there is a head called extraordinary items, which covers most of the capital transactions. So they don't differentiate between capital and revenue, expenses or grants or something, funds received. So they maintain one account only. Usually they maintain an account by the name of extraordinary items. And this extraordinary items usually covers all one-time expenses or receipts, which are usually the capital transactions. A number of special funds, example for roads, or special budgets for specific municipal functions like education, or enterprise activity like water supply and sanitation, transport, electricity, etc., are also made. For example, Apni Rasoi, or the local bodies setting up a local canteen, where the people can get food at 10 rupees, 20 rupees per meal, like so subsidized canteens set up by the local bodies. They could made a budget for them. Expenditure control. In the system of financial control existing in the state and central government, there is a clear demarcation between legislature and executive. So there are people who frame the law, who make the law, and there are different people who execute the law. In the case of local bodies, it is usually the people who make the law, and these are the same people who have to execute the law. So integration of legislation and executive powers in the municipal council makes it difficult for its executive to function as it is inquisitorial body as well. So the body which is making the law, it is implementing it. There is no separation. So there could be some biased issues. So that is why sometimes integration over here between the legislation and executive is somewhat difficult. Moreover, the separation of executive powers and functions in the municipal government cannot accommodate the existence of an independent finance officer responsible to the municipal council or its executive committee. This leaves the system of external audit by the state government as the only instrument of controlling municipal expenditure. You cannot set up a post of or a finance officer independent. That is why state government has only this mechanism left with it to get the audit of the local bodies done, to check whether the grants are being utilized in the proper manner, there is no corruption, and public benefit works are being covered properly. Matters of regular revenues and expenditures are generally delegated to executives like municipal commissioners. Municipals in India usually follow cash system of accounting. They usually follow this method. Objectives of audit: reporting on fairness of the content and presentation of financial statements. Reporting upon the strengths and weaknesses of the systems of financial control. How are the expenses being managed? Has ceilings been set up for various kinds of expenditure? Are tenders being invited for construction of roads, bridges, or beautification of the city? Reporting on adherence to the legal or administrative requirements. Reporting upon whether value is being fully received on money spent. So you have constructed a road, and with one rainfall, the road collapses. Whether it was value for money or not, or was it on paper only, there is corruption involved. Detection and prevention of error, fraud, and misuse of resources. So this is the objective of audit of local bodies. So last subtopic in local bodies, audit program, appointment of auditor. It is usually, if the state government is getting it done, state governments appoint the auditor, right? However, the municipal corporations of Delhi, Mumbai, and few others have powers to appoint their own auditors for regular external audit. So auditor has to ensure his appointment whether by the state government or by the municipal corporation itself. Auditor has to check the fairness and contents of presentation, again the objective, strengths and weakness, adherence to legal, whether value is being, the objectives are the auditor's areas. Rules and regulations are being followed as per the provisions of law in collecting the revenue and expending the same, and they are being sanctioned by the competent authority. The expenses are being sanctioned by the competent authority. There are proper authorizations and sanction whether for a specific work or general work to be carried out by the local body. Provisioning of funds is being made and expenditure is being incurred after a proper authorization by a competent authority from that fund. For example, you have made a provision for the construction of roads throughout the city, right? So separate provision of street lights. So you have made a separate provision and the expenditure is being made out of that provision only. And the auditor will also give a view of the budgeted performance. Various schemes, programs, and projects of the government, expenditure is being incurred as projected. If there is any variation, if they are running economically or not, and expected results are we getting? Otherwise, he should narrate this point in his or her report. That is the audit program for local bodies. I hope it's clear now, the local bodies. Any doubt for time being? Otherwise, we'll take a break. Any doubts, please? It's 7:38. We'll take a break at 7:40 for 10 minutes. 7:50, we'll come back and we'll finish our topic of government audit. The last topic for today. Okay, people here from Hyderabad, Kolkata. Right. Fine. It's all clear. Let us take a break and then we'll start with government audit after we come after the break, right? Okay, break for 10 minutes. Are we back? Sir, we have only one dream, not PMC, only members of ICA. अरे सपने कभी छोड़ने नहीं चाहिए. एक ड्रीम अचीव हो जाएगा. I had a dream of becoming a member of ICI. One dream is achieved, then after that, no other dreams. Settled life, sorted life. I don't know. There should be a driving force. Okay, Hiral is in Mumbai. Karthik is in Delhi. Everyone back? चलिए आज थोड़ा सा इंडिया का पॉलिटिक्स समझते हैं before we move ahead with government bodies, and you'll have to help me with that, right? Okay, so I need a volunteer. Anybody who wants to volunteer? Okay, so let's take Mr. Okay, Bundred. Okay, Bund Reddy. So Mr. Reddy, Mr. Reddy lives in Hyderabad. So Bund Reddy, I am assuming that you live in a society. Okay, so this is Mr. Reddy's home, and Mr. Reddy lives in a society. Okay, this is Mr. Reddy's society. This is his home. This is his society. So his home is regulated and controlled by his parents or his family, elders in the family. Right, Bund Reddy? And now the society, the secretary, the governing body of the society, right? Now coming to the city of Hyderabad. As he said, the local body in Hyderabad that is taking care of the development, regulatory and other work in the city. Okay. Now, Hyderabad is in which state? I'm assuming when ready, I didn't ask for your permission. Huh? Kinda permitted. Okay. So Hyderabad is in which state? When ready, which state do you belong to? Okay, so he says here we have GHMC, Greater Hyderabad Municipal Corporation, the local body. We have already covered this, the local body. And now Ben Reddy lives in the state of Telangana. Telangana, the state. Now the grants and donations for the Greater Hyderabad Municipal Corporation, it gets from the Telangana is headed by a chief minister, right? To GHMC. Now it is a state in the country India. Fine. India. And India is headed by the PM. Am I clear? So we have this concept of Siddharth is from Pune. Pooja is from Chennai. Nice. The geographical cocktail over here, I really like it. I love it. People from different areas. So assume to be your city, your state, and then proceed with my example. Huh? So we have a local body. Then we have state or UT, like Karthik is in Delhi. So that's the UT. Viral is in Mumbai. Delhi is a UT, right? And then the country, the bigger river. Okay. Hitesh is from Jodhpur. Wow, good. And Charu is from Palwal, Haryana. Kya baat hai. So at the local bodies, we have the municipal corporation commissioners, the mayor and all who take care of the city, the local bodies. In the states, we have the chief minister. It is known as the state government. Over here, the PM and his team, it is known as the central government. Okay, fast. So, what body in the country makes laws to be implemented at the central level? What body? Which elections take place are contested after every 5 years to decide the composition at this level? What elections take place? Not local body, but body, government body, legal body. What constitutional or legal body decides the fate? Elections to which body decide the fate of members reaching the central, being a part of the central government? Which elections? Happening being contested every 5 years. The Lok Sabha elections. And the body is the parliament. And the people elected are called the members of the parliament or MPs. Right? Yes. Karthik, your queries are not coming, but just only blank. And that too in hundreds. Your responses are coming blank and that too in hundreds. Just re-log in. Okay. So these are the MPs and they form the central government. The parliament makes laws to be implemented throughout the country. Now, elections after every 5 years take place over here as well. So what is the body over here? And members selected to this body are known as, at the state level, the body is the State Legislative Assembly. Right? Or the Vidhan Sabha. हमारे चचा विधायक हैं, huh? Right? And the people selected, if they are the members of the parliament, they are the members of the Legislative Assembly. And they make laws to be implemented at the state level, individual state level. Punjab has a different state legislative assembly, Telangana different, Maharashtra different, West Bengal different, Tamil Nadu different, Rajasthan, Haryana, they all have their own state legislative assemblies. But the whole nation has only one parliament, one central government, MPs from different areas. Same way, here are members of the corporation or the committee known as the MCs at local body level. So they demand grants from state, states demand grants from the center. They all have their funds. Local body has its own funds, states have their own funds, and the central government has their own funds. The fund at the central level is known as the Consolidated Fund of India, which has receipts from the direct taxes, the indirect taxes, the loans the governments take from the World Bank, from international organizations, from other, and if it has given loans to other organizations or governments, the repayment of those loans. The center has given loan to the state governments or grants to the state government. So grants will form the fund of the state government's consolidated fund. Right? They all have their funds. Now, when they have funds, okay, there are funds. Now, there are funds. They have been received by revenue in the form of taxes or grants from other governments, from a higher government. These funds are to be expended for the public, for the betterment of the country, the state or city. This is where corruption comes. The corruption comes over here. When this fund, the receipts are used by the political people, not for the public, but for their own benefit, for their selfish motive, for accumulating their wealth. This is where corruption comes. And to keep a check on this corruption, there is no misuse of resources, and to keep a check whether such funds are being utilized for the betterment of the public, audit is required. And audit of the government is also required, whether at center or state or local level. So the local level's audit is taken care of by the state. So it is out of this context. In government audit, we are studying about center and states, audit of accounts of the center and the state. The parliament makes laws and provisions for getting the audit done of central and state government accounts. Before giving them money, as well as after giving them money, whether it has been used properly or not. And there is this Public Accounts Committee, a committee of different members of the parliament, which takes care of this function. The Public Accounts Committee. I hope I'm clear with all such facts. Right? Now let us go to the topic. This was just the story behind government audit. Local bodies we've done already. Now we have, after starting from the club to NGO to local body, and now we are moving to the center and the state. Okay. चलिए, So, what is government audit? The definition, if you read it in a plain manner, usually get to forget it. So we have divided it into steps, and in steps we have to learn this definition. As per the UN handbook on government auditing and developing countries, government audit is. So the part written in red, you don't have to write it in your answer. This is just to make you remember the definition, right? So the serial numbers and this part written in red, you don't have to write it in your answer. You just have to write it, government audit is, and all the points written in black. So government audit is what is government audit? The first part to remember, what is? It is the objective, means as per rules, systematic in a sequential manner, as per a system, professional as per the standards, and independent means without being influenced by anyone. Examination. So government audit is an objective, systematic, professional, and independent examination. OSPI. It is an OSPI. OSPI. Objective, systematic, professional, independent. Of examination of what? Financial, administrative, and other operations. Whose operations? A public entity, an entity in which public are interested, a public entity. When made subsequently to their execution. So when financial, administrative operations, other operations have been executed, after their execution, such audit is carried out. Why such audit is carried out? For the purpose of evaluating and verifying them. How to evaluating and verify them? By presenting a report containing explanatory comments which give explanation on the audit findings, together with conclusions and recommendations for future actions by the responsible officials. Yeah, you can use ISOP as well. You can use ISOP as well. Independent, systematic, objective, and professional. As per your discretion. Howsoever, there is no sequence. So government audit is the objective, systematic, professional, and independent examination of financial, administrative, and other operations of a public entity, made subsequently to their execution for the purpose of evaluating and verifying them, presenting a report containing explanatory comments on audit findings, together with conclusions and recommendations for future actions by responsible officials. Now, special case in this definition. So this you have to write it with a definition only. No need to write special case specifically. After officials, you have to write and in the case of examination of financial statements, that is our case. That is our case. Expressing the appropriate professional opinion regarding the fairness of the presentation. So this is the definition of government audit. What are the objectives of government audit? This is the most easy and the most asked question in CE exams. What are the objectives of government audit? 4 marks. Accounting for public funds. The money received, the money with the government is the money of the public to be used by the public. Money given by the public, money of the public, and money to be used for the public. It serves as a mechanism or process for public accounting of government funds. Appraisal of government policies. So government policies are being implemented. They are fair government policies and they are being implemented in the right manner. It also provides public accounting of the operational, management, program, and policy aspects of public administration, as well as accountability of the officials administering them, the officers given the responsibility of executing and administering that scheme, like the distribution of food and vaccines during COVID period, the distribution of food to the BPL families, below poverty line families. Corrective actions, if any error or any mistake is found in the operations or execution, audit observations based on factual data collection also serve to highlight the lapses of the lower hierarchy, the bottom, the middle, top, bottom, middle, top, middle, bottom, right? The lowest level of management, helping the other level officers to take corrective measures. The last is administrative accountability. The main objective is a combination of ensuring accountability of administration to legislature and functioning as an aid to administration. Legislature is the parliament and the legislative assembly, the acts made. Now, who is empowered to conduct the audit of the states and the center? Who is the person, the authority? The Comptroller and Auditor General of India. People living in Delhi, you might have seen the office at the ITO Chowk. After you cross the ITO Chowk, opposite the AES, Sandhya Education Society, you can see the office of the Comptroller and Auditor General of India. In India, the function of government audit is discharged by the independent. No, he is independent of any statutory body. It is an independent statutory authority of the Comptroller and Auditor General, CAG, through the agency of the Indian Audit and Accounts Department. As per his duty, no Nilabjo, no. He watches that the various authorities act in regard to financial matters in accordance with the constitution and the laws made by the parliament, and in the case of states, by the parliament as well as the state legislative assembly, and conform to the rules or orders made thereunder. So at present, Shri Girish Chandra Murmuji is the CAG of India, appointed in August 2020. So we'll talk about the appointment of a CAG, his remuneration, the term of appointment, removal, resignation, other legal provisions, duties, and powers. So we are discussing about audit, and CAG is the authority to be discussed in this topic. Yeah, C and AG, not CAG, it's C and AG. Come on, Banradi. Don't be a spot. Appointment. The President of India shall appoint the C and AG of India. Okay, does anybody know who nominates the CAG of India to the President? Who is the authorized person who nominates the CAG to the President, and the President, considering the nomination, appoints the C and AG of India? Can anybody tell me who nominates? In 2020, who would have nominated, which office, which chair would have appointed, nominated the C and AG of India to the President? Central government. Who in the central government, Nilabjo? Who in the central government? What authority? Which minister? I'll wait for your answers. Let me see who knows this point. How better are you? How good are you at economics and the Indian politics? And remuneration. The parliament is the competent body to make laws to determine salary and other conditions of service. With respect to CAG, Hiral says ICI President. No, Hiral. Siddharth says PM. Banreddy says PM, Nilabjo says Finance Minister. Okay, it is the Prime Minister. It is the Prime Minister who nominates the C&AG and President appoints the C&AG. So the Parliament is competent to make laws to determine his salary and his other conditions, but such laws cannot be varied to his disadvantage after his appointment. Whatever laws you have to make before his appointment, and you cannot make any amendments to those laws which can prove of disadvantageous nature to the C&AG. He shall be paid a salary which is equal to the salary of the judge of the Supreme Court. His term is 6 years or up to the age of 65 years, whichever is less. For example, a person has been appointed as CAG at the age of 58. So 6 years, 64. So either he completes 6 years in office, he or she, or attains the age of 65 years, whichever comes earlier, that will be the end of his or her term. If a person is appointed as CAG at the age of 62 years, 6 years end when he becomes 68, but attains 68, but he'll have to, his term will end when he attains the age of 65 years after 3 years. So either 6 years when he's appointed, or he attains the age of 65 years, whichever is less. Whichever is achieved earlier, the term will end. He shall not be removed from office except on the ground of proven misbehavior or incapacity. He can be removed only when each house of parliament, each house means both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, do so to remove him by a majority of not less than 2/3 of the members of the house present in the house and vote for his removal. 2/3 means at least 67%. He can resign anytime. If he himself wants to resign, can anytime through a resignation letter addressed to the president now. Because your resignation letter is always addressed to the person who appoints you. Other provisions relating to C&AG, Article 149 states that he shall perform such duties and such powers will be given to him with respect to the accounts of the union, the central level, and the states, and any other authority or body as may be prescribed by any law made by the Parliament. There is a special act, the Comptroller and Auditor General's Duties, Powers and Conditions of Service Act 1971, which define these functions and powers of the C&AG. Article 150 of the Constitution provides that the accounts of the union and the states shall be kept in such form as the president may prescribe on the advice of the C&AG. Right? So, on the advice of the C&AG, president will prescribe the format to keep the accounts by the union and the states. Now, Article 151 of the Constitution states that the reports of the C&AG relating to accounts of the union state shall be submitted to the president and or the governor. As the case, in the case of union, he has to submit the report to the audit report to the president. In the case of state, governor is the person who is the head of the state. Chief minister is, yes, chief minister is over there, but governor at central level, it is the president, governor, who shall cause them to be laid before House of Parliament or state legislature, as the case may be. So president would cause them to be laid before the House of Parliament, and governor would cause them to be laid before the House of State Legislature in the case of center, union and state respectively. What are the duties of the Comptroller and Auditor General of India? So, with respect to duties, this act prevails. The first duty is compile and submit accounts of union and state. The C&AG shall be responsible for compiling the accounts of the union and state, from initial and subsidiary accounts, the ledgers and all maintained, the data maintained, rendered to the audit and accounts offices under his control by treasuries, offices or departments responsible for keeping of such account. So whatever departments of the government or offices are responsible for keeping such accounts, he shall be responsible for getting those accounts compiled by his office of the union and of each state. From the accounts compiled by him, prepare in each account string under the respective heads the annual receipts, the disbursements for the purpose of the union, of each state, union territory having a legislative assembly. Like Delhi has its legislative assembly. And shall submit those accounts to the president or the governor, as the case may be, or in the case of a union territory, it is the administrator. In the case of the country, it is the president. In the case of a state, it is the governor. And in the case of union territory, it is the administrator. Or on before such dates as he may, with the concurrence of the government concerned, determine. In consultation with these governments, the respective governments, they'll decide a date by which he shall get those accounts submitted before the head of such government. Shall, insofar as the accounts for the compilation of keeping which he is responsible, enable him so to give to the union government, state government, or government of union territories, UTs having legislative assemblies, such information as they may require for time to time, and render them assistance in the preparation of their financial statements. So compiling, submitting these statements to the respective heads, and providing them the information as required from time to time. General provisions relating to audit. The CNG shall check for the following parts: the money utilization, the funds maintained, the financial statements. To audit and to report on all the expenditure from the consolidated fund of India and of the fund of each state and union territory having a legislative assembly. So whatever expenditure is being made from the respective funds, audit and report on the expenditure of these funds and to ascertain whether the monies shown in the accounts, they have been actually disbursed, were legally available to be expended, and applicable to the service or purpose to which have been applied or charged, were put to the right use, and has been sanctioned by the proper authority which governs it. The C&AG has to audit and report all transactions of the union, states relating to any contingency funds maintained. Now, the main part is the financial statements, to audit and report on all trading, manufacturing and profit and loss accounts and balance sheets and other accounts kept in any department of the union or the state. Audit of receipts and expenditure, but obvious. If any body or any authority of any government, whether center or center, is substantially financed by grants or loans from the consolidated fund of India or the consolidated fund of the state or of the union territory, C&AG shall audit all the receipts and expenditure of that body or authority to report on the receipts and expenditure audited by him. In which cases, where such bodies are substantially financed by grants from such funds. What is the meaning of substantially financed? Where such body, where the grant or loan to a body or authority from the consolidated fund of India or of the state or legislative assembly in any financial year is not less than rupees 20 lakhs, for it is 25 lakhs or more, and the amount of such grant or loan is not less than 75% of the total expenditure of that body or authority, shall deem to be substantially financed. So that particular government body or authority has availed grants from the consolidated fund of India or state, and it is more than 25 lakhs, greater than equal to 25 lakhs. Another attached condition is whatever expenditure that particular body or authority has made during that financial year, more than 75% or more than 75% of the expenditure of that year has been completed because of this grant. Right? So whatever expenditure, the grant makes up 75%, at least 75% of the total expenditure of that body during the year. Then it would be called as substantially financed by the fund, Consolidated Fund of India or State of Union Territory. Yes, both conditions satisfied. Both. Audit of now the consolidated fund. What is the consolidated fund? Article 266 says the consolidated fund of India consists of all the revenue received from direct and indirect taxes, all the loans taken by the government of India, and all the amount of repayment of loans received by the government of India. So that is consolidated fund of India. Consolidated fund of the state, direct indirect taxes, loan taken by the state government, loan received as a repayment, advances received, repayment of loans received by the state government or the legislative assembly. So, audit of receipts of union or states, it shall be his duty to audit all the receipts payable into the consolidated fund of India or of each state or union to satisfy himself that the rules and procedures in that behalf are designed to secure an effective check. They are being properly assessed, collected, and allocated properly for the purposes destined, and such examination of accounts as he thinks fit and report thereon. No Shreya, not CAs. It is his office. The personnel employed in C&AG office, they have their own recruitments. We'll see when does the CAG appoint a chartered accountant. We'll see that. Audit of grants or loans. So where any grant or loan is given for any specific purpose from the Consolidated Fund of India, not being a foreign state or international organization, scrutinize the procedures on the basis of which who has sanctioned such grant, whether all the conditions were being fulfilled to give such grant, and will have right of access after giving reasonable notice to the books and accounts of that authority of body which has received the grant to check whether the received grant has been properly utilized. Audit of accounts of stores and inventory of the government departments. Audit of government companies and corporations. So, government companies are audit performed under Companies Act 13. He shall appoint the auditor, Shreya. He shall appoint the auditor, chartered accountant, under subsection 5 or 7 of section 139. Subsection 5 is on the appointment of first auditor, and subsection 7 on subsequent auditor. Nilabjo, he does have. He is a person of eminent, whosoever the CAG is appointed, he will have definitely have knowledge of the public funds, the accounting, the auditing, a person with a good academic history, right? Economics and all this. So don't worry about it. And direct the auditor in the manner in which the accounts of the government company are required to be audited. The auditor shall submit a copy of the audit report to him as per the directions issued by him, the action taken and impact on accounts and financial statements of the company, the auditor has to report to him. So what is covered in the part of C&AG? Basically, the expenditure audit is the main part. The expenditure of the government, expenditure made by the respective governments, the center or the state governments, the expenditures made by them are basically, more of it is covered under government audit. So expenditure related to what? The major components of government audit, expenditure related to what? Expenditure of audit against rules and orders. That the expenditure incurred is as per the law, as per the financial rules and regulations made by the competent authority. This is known as audit against rules and orders. Audit of sanctions. That sanction of funds, either for general or specific purpose, has been given by competent authority in the government who has authorization over such expenditure. This is called audit of sanctions. Audit against provision of funds. If a provision of funds is being maintained out of which a certain expenditure can be incurred, like COVID funds maintained during the COVID period, it has been made out of that fund only and authorized by a competent authority. The CAG will have to check. Propriety audit. Propriety audit is the broad and general principles of financial propriety. For example, the work could be, that is why you can see when you become a chartered accountant, majority of the government audits, they come up with tenders. Because they say for government corporations, for government companies as well, they come up with tenders because they have to be quite economical. Proprietary means economical. What you can get in 100 rupees, why are you spending 150 or 200 rupees on that? So, based upon the principles of rationality and wisdom, the word propriety. Rationality, wisdom, and economical. So, the CAG will have to check that as well. Performance audit of the government organization. The programs, schemes, and projects of various governments, central or state governments, where large financial expenditure has been incurred, they are being run economically and yielding the desired results. This is performance audit. Now we'll cover each briefly. Audit against rules and orders, sanctions, provision of funds, propriety, and performance. So audit against rules and orders, we have done this, that as per the rules and orders. So it involves interpretation of the Act, Constitution, statutes, rules, regulations, and order. The final power of interpretation of these, however, does not vest with the C&AG, that is with the courts. So the rules, regulations, and orders against which regulatory audit is conducted mainly fall under the following categories. Rules and orders regulating the powers to incur and sanction expenditure from the funds. Rules and orders dealing with the mode of presentation of claims against government. How to withdraw money from the fund. And the detailed procedure to be followed by the government organizations and the government officers to deal with such transactions. Rules and orders regulating the conditions of service, pay, allowances, pensions of government servants. This is also the government expenditure. That is why, whenever the government always come up with a notification or that rules, the pay is being increased, areas are being given, allowances are being increased, DA is being increased for the government servants. Now, it says it is a function of the executive government to frame rules, regulations, and orders. The government in function, they frame the rules, regulations, and orders, and they are to be observed by the subordinated or the people working below the hierarchy. The job of the audit is to see that these rules, regulations, orders are applied properly by the subordinate authorities. The auditor has not to prescribe these rules, regulations. That is a function of the top level, top hierarchy of the government. They'll have to enforce economy in public expenditure. There is no wastage of money in expenditure. Auditor has to bring to the notice of authorities of wastefulness in such expenditure, and when there is improper, avoidable, and infructuous expenditure. Infructuous means not bearing any fruits, not yielding any results, unproductive expenditure. So function of the audit is to carry out examination of various rules, regulations, and orders, and expenditure is being made as per these rules, regulations, and orders issued. That they are not inconsistent with any provisions, consistent with all the essential requirements of audit as determined by C&AG, do not conflict with the orders of the rules made by any higher authority, and in case they have not been separately approved by a competent authority, the issuing authority possesses the necessary rule-making power. Audit of sanctions. Each item of expenditure is covered by a sanction, either general or special. The audit of sanctions is there to ensure that the expenditure is properly covered by sanction, properly authorized and approved. And the authorizing authority, sanction, is competent by the virtue of powers given to him or her. And if it has been delegated as per the rules and policies. Audit against provision of funds is expenditure incurred has been for the purpose for which the particular grant or appropriation was provided, and amount of such expenditure should not exceed the amount of provision made. Now, propriety audit, I told you propriety audit is based upon wisdom, rationality, and economy. The auditors try to bring out cases of improper, avoidable, or infructuous expenditure, even though the expenditure has been incurred in conformity with the rules. Audit against rules and orders is fine. The expenditure has passed the test of audit against rules and orders. But that particular government expenditure might fail over here as proprietary audit, because that particular expenditure could have been avoided. It was improper. It could have been made at a lower rates, or it did not yield any results. So the general principle laid down in audit code as for the proprietary audit: financial propriety, financial wisdom, financial rationality. The expenditure should not be prima facie more than the occasion demands. This particular bridge required expenditure of 20 crores. And in the books, it shows that 50 crores had been spent upon it. बाकी के 30 करोड़ कहां लग गए, क्यों लग गए? What was the reason? Every public officer is expected to exercise the same vigilance, same wisdom, same rationality as if it was his or her personal work, or a personal of ordinarily prudence would exercise in respect of expenditure of his own money. The public money, while expending public money, you should assume that as if a person, a layman, would exercise wisdom with his own money. No authority should exercise powers of sanctioning expenditure to pass an order which will directly or indirectly to its own advantage, selfish interest. Public monies should not be utilized for the benefit of a particular person or a section of community, religion, region, or tribe. Unless conditions attached, where it can be, where the amount of expenditure involved is insignificant, quite low an amount. A claim for the amount could be enforced in court of law. If they have expended and it was not required, they could approach the court for its claim. The expenditure is in pursuance of a recognized policy or custom of the government. Amount of allowances such as traveling allowances, etc., are not on the whole sources of profit to the recipients, where such expenditure was actually met. The last in the expenditure audit, but not the least, the performance audit of the government programs and offices. It covers efficiency. Efficiency means how well the work is being done. How well the work is being done. Economy. Economy means the best possible manner of expenditure. And effectiveness means the result of that expenditure. So efficiency, economy, and effectiveness audit means full scope audit of that expenditure. Procedure is identify the topic, study preliminary, planning and execution of audit, and then reporting of the audit. This is the steps of performance audit. Efficiency audit looks into whether the various schemes, projects are executed and their operations conducted economically, whether they are yielding the results expected from them. That is a relationship between goods and services produced and resources used to produce them. And examination in fact extent which operations are carried out in the most economical and efficient manner. Quite, I think you would have read it in strategic management, difference between efficiency and effectiveness. Economy relates to money. Financial, human, and physical resources are required in the economical manner. There is no improper or large more than required expenditure. And sanctioning and spending authorities have observed economy. Effectiveness audit, appraisal of the performance of programs when the expenditure has been incurred. What is the result? Objectives are being achieved or not? Efficiency cum performance audit, including both efficiency and effectiveness. Efficiency cum performance audit is an objective exam. Objective means as given, as per the rules and policies, procedures, standards set. There is no subjective, there is no difference of opinion. Whether it is a yes or a no. Examination of the financial and operational performance of an organization, program, authority, or function, and is oriented towards identifying opportunities for greater economy and effectiveness. That is performance audit for you. Receipts, quite normal. Whether all revenues or debts to the government have been correctly assessed, realized, and credited to government account by the designated. They have not been put into their own pockets by the government officials. They have been deposited with the government. That is why the ED, the CBI conducts raids to get this out. Corruption. Whether adequate regulation and procedure have been framed by the department to check on the assessment, collection, and proper allocation of cases like income tax. Whether such actual procedures are being carried out or not. Whether adequate checks are imposed to ensure the prompt detection and investigation of irregularities, double refunds, fraudulent or forged refund vouchers, or loss of revenue through fraud or willful omission, or negligence to collect taxes or issue. This is what to check for revenue leakage. Either money paid in excess or money collected less. Review of systems and procedures to see the internal procedures. The internal procedures of various government departments are correct, and regular accounting of demands from the public, like income tax, GST demands from the public for short payment or collection of taxes, and refunds given to them, final settlement, they need some improvement. The system needs some improvement. Nilavjo, I agree. So the basic principle is to look at general on the particular through individual cases of assessment. Demand. So the CAG doesn't look for case to case. Okay, this particular person, no, he's not that free. The office is not that free. In general, the policies and procedures of assessment, demand collection of various departments. And he'll also consider a review of the court decisions in various cases. And in this case, the extent and quantum of audit required to be done under each category of audit is determined by the C&AG, and the quantum and extent cannot be negotiable or cannot be questioned. The prescribed extent and quantum are structured in accordance with the design of basic audit procedures: test check, random sampling, general review, in-depth study of specified areas, etc. And how is this warranted or evidenced? By the nature of transactions, importance of that particular scheme of the department, the whole transactions, the frequency of checks made, and total plan of the audit to be executed. Institutional mechanism means as per the government mechanism. It says the standard mechanism: a primary check by the auditor, then test check by the supervisor, and control and direction by the group leader. The steps, basically the steps, the sequence of audit of receipts. Planning, executing, and reporting of work is directed at the middle and top levels. The bottom level performs it, and direction and monitoring at the middle and top level. Audit of stores and inventory is the same as audit of inventories. You can read this on your own. It is quite fine. If there are any doubts, you can ask me in the next class. Okay. the valuation, proper vendors are there, tenders are being floated, right? Proper sanctions are made for their purchase from a particular vendor. Prices are reasonable at arm's length. No particular relative or sister concern of the government official should be benefited. There, the quality should be superb of the materials being purchased. All these things, reasonable prices, everything of stores and inventories. Hitesh, yes, not that much of judgment auditor, no. Apart from the normal auditor skills required, the CAG prescribes the scope. Now come with audit of commercial accounts. Public enterprises are required to maintain commercial accounts where government gets into business, commerce. Three categories: departmental enterprises. They are engaged in commercial and trading operations. The audit of departmental accounts is taken in the same manner as department of government where commercial accounts are kept, like a government audit. Government departments could be the public works department, statutory bodies and corporations. For example, corporations set up under law like the ICI Act, the LIC. So these are created by specific statutes, mostly financed by the government in the form of loans, grants, right? So ICI is a body set up under a specific statute, but it is mostly self-financed. Other bodies which are financed, set up under a statute and financed by the government. Like audit of statutory bodies or corporation depends on the nature and type of the statute governing those bodies. Both financial and accounts audit are conducted by the CNG, where compilation of accounts is vested the CANAG. Functions, normal standards of works usually followed by professional auditors are adopted. Mutatis mutandis. What is mutatis mutandis? Mutatis mutandis means as it is, as applied to a normal audit, apply to this audit as well. Government companies set up under the Companies Act, the same as case we done. Government companies have their own auditors under the statute appointed by CNDG. In addition, the CNDG conducts a supplementary or test audit of the accounts, as well as periodical financial audit and appraisal of performance. Appraisal means to check the plus and minus of the performance. The CNDG, now here own auditor CAs appointed by the CNDG, government companies. The CAG also issues direction to the company auditors for reporting on specific aspects of their audit work. Such work is reviewed, condensed in the audit reports to be given to the government or legislatures. CAG has also adopted the mechanism of an audit board comprising of the representatives of the audit and nominees of the government, including functional specialists. Functional specialist means relating to that particular industry. If it is public works, relating to public works. If it is relating to some technology, that technology. It could be like the network and communication technology, functional specialists relating to that technology to process reviews or appraisals on performance. So now the last part of this topic, powers of the CNDG. There are some general powers to inspect any office of accounts under the control of a union or state government, to require for the production of any accounts or books, papers, other documents which are useful for his work, to be sent to specified places, not only his office, if they need to be sent out to another office under his control, to put such questions or make such observations as he may consider necessary to the person in charge of the office being audited, and to call for such information as he might require for preparation of the accounts or reports or compilation of accounts. In carrying out the audit, the CNG has the power to dispense with any part of the detailed audit. This much is not required. I'm satisfied with the sample checking of any accounts or class of transactions, and he might satisfy himself with limited checks in relation to such accounts or transactions. So normal general powers of the C&AG. Specific powers, the last topic of government audit. Specific powers, some powers of situational nature. The first power is under section 143 subsection 5. It states that in the case of a government company or any other company owned or controlled directly or indirectly by the central government or state government, or the government company's definition, the C&AG shall appoint the auditor under subsection 5 or 7 of 139. First or subsequent auditor, C&AG shall appoint the auditor in the case of a government company. He will direct such auditor the manner in which he has to conduct the audit, the manner in which he has to prepare his report and submit to the CAG, and what directions he has issued for the audit work, what action needs to be taken off, and the impact of accounts on the financial statement of the company. Right? Specific power number 1. Number 2. Specific power number 2. Section 143, subsection 6 of the Act. The C&AG shall, within 60 days from the date of receipt of the audit report. So, section 143, subsection 5, the auditor of the government company submits a report to the C&AG. Now, after the receipt of the report within 60 days, the C&AG has the power to conduct a supplementary audit. Supplementary audit under section 143, subsection 6, clause A. Supplementary audit means additional audit which supplements the original audit of the financial statement of the company by such person or persons as he may authorize in this behalf. Another person, one or more persons as he may authorize, and for the purpose of such audit require information or additional to be furnished to any person or persons so authorized. So he'll ask the government department whose accounts are being audited, again supplementary audit, to furnish information or additional information or documents to such person or persons, that is the auditors. Now he has appointed the supplementary auditors, right? And the audit will be done conducted as per his directions. Further, section 143, subsection 6, clause B says, the C&AG shall comment upon or supplement such audit report. Any comments given by the C&AG or supplement to the audit report shall be sent by the company. So the C&AG can get a supplementary audit conducted, and he may also comment upon the findings on the report produced, given to him, submitted to him, both the original and the supplementary audit, and he may give his comments in addition to the audit report, auditor's comments. Such comments shall be sent by the company to every person entitled to copies of audited and financial under section 136. So the company sent audited financial statements to every member. Now, such comments are also required to be sent along with the financial set. Every trustee of the debenture holder of the debentures, to all other stakeholders who are entitled. And such comments shall also be placed before the annual general meeting of the company at the same time in the same manner as audit report. So a company lays on the annual statements and the audit report at an AGM before the members. The comments and the supplementary reports should also be placed before the members simultaneously at that time. So this was Section 143 subsection 6 was supplementary audit. Section 143 subsection 5 was normal government audit, company audit. Now section 143 subsection 7, the last topic, test audit. What is a test audit? Surprise test audit. Without prejudice to the provisions relating to audit and auditor, without affecting the provisions of the audit and auditor, the C and AG, in case of any company covered under 139 subsection 5, 139 subsection 7, first or subsequent auditor, if the CAG considers necessary, he may pass an order and cause test audit to be conducted of the accounts of such company, and provisions of section 19A of this act shall apply to the report of such test audit. That is all about test audit. That is all about test audit, section 143, subsection 7. This finishes your topic of government audit as well. Now, doubts, please. Doubts, please. Yeah. Okay. These sections are of the Companies Act, right? Be clear with it. 143 subsection 5, 143 subsection 6, 143 subsection 7. These are of the Companies Act. Kiral, this is the test audit is for some specific transactions. A surprise test audit type. Normal audit like surprise test, unit test in your school, colleges. So this is something which is residuary power with the C and AG to get a test audit conducted, because that company audited is 143.5 is conducted annually, statutory. This is supplementary. After that audit, this is a test audit any time during the year. Any other doubts, please? You may come up with it. And Smita says we'll go with the topic and ask doubts in the next session. So we have our last session of this batch, LVC batch 5, and your subject of audit on Monday, 26th of September. Right? Be ready with your doubts, and you might have to spend some extra time on that day. If you have doubts, as somebody had asked, doubts relating to whole of the audit, you may come up with those doubts on the last day of this batch, 26th of September, right? Okay. Chaliye, we will finish this chapter in the next class with some smaller topics left: educational, charitable, institutions, hospital, cinema hall, 4 very small topics. Then we have the 5th, hire purchase, 5 small topics, and 1 big topic, cooperative societies. Okay, we'll finish this chapter in the next class. Good night, everyone. Take care, and we'll meet on Monday, 26th of September. Bye-bye.